Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at a wave of drone sightings off the coast of New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
We've got some pretty compelling stuff to unpack today. We have video clips, firsthand accounts, and statements from local officials,
Okay.
sheriffs, a congressman, even a retired F-16 pilot. And get this, the federal government is saying that there's nothing unusual happening.
Really?
Yeah.
So we have all these people saying they've seen these drones, but officials are denying any unusual activity.
Pretty wild, right?
Well, what's really interesting is the potential connection to UAPs,
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
unidentified aerial phenomena. You know what a lot of people just call UFOs.
Right. I'll be honest with you. When I first heard about this story, I kind of brushed it off. You know, drones are pretty common these days.
Yeah.
But the more I looked into it, the more I saw this stark contrast between what people on the ground were experiencing and what the government was saying.
Yeah.
And it started to feel something bigger was going on. So I knew we had to do a deep dive on this.
Well, I think the government's response, or should I say lack thereof, is a key part of this story.
Absolutely.
Why don't we start with a clip from the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas. He was on CNN's The Situation Room, and he was very, very clear about his stance on the situation.
Okay, let's hear it.
Here we go.
Nothing unusual, no threat, no nefarious activity.
Right.
He makes it sound pretty open and shut.
He does.
But then just a few hours later, we have this live briefing on Fox News with Congressman Chris Smith, a group of sheriffs, and that retired F-16 pilot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they saw Mayorkas' statement, and let's just say they were not convinced.
I bet.
Let's listen in.
All right.
You can just hear the frustration from these local officials. Congressman Smith even called Mayorkas' statement beyond the pale.
Wow.
This isn't just about drones, you know. It's about trust in the government's word.
Right.
And then the retired pilot, he had a particularly strong reaction. He argued that any unidentified aircraft poses a threat until it's positively identified.
Makes sense to me.
He sees the government's no-threat claim as illogical and irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You have these unidentified objects flying around near sensitive areas like Naval Weapons Station Earl.
Right.
And the government is essentially saying, don't worry, there's no threat.
Yeah, it definitely raises some red flags for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Congressman Smith called out that exact contradiction. He basically said, how can you say there's no threat when you're admitting you don't even know what these things are?
That's a great point. Yeah. He's basically arguing that the government's own words completely undermine their attempts to downplay the situation.
Yeah, it really highlights the tension between what the government is saying and what's actually happening on the ground.
And speaking of what's happening on the ground, you know, the sheriff's investigations offer some pretty compelling evidence too.
Oh, yeah.
Sheriffs Mike Morty and Sean Golden have been dealing with this firsthand. They're getting the reports from the public and from their own officers.
Right.
And what they're seeing does not match up with the government's claims.
So what are they saying?
Well, for example, they describe drones flying at speeds over 60 miles per hour.
Oh, wow.
That's faster than the drones that their own departments use.
Yeah.
Which, you know, suggests a level of technology that's not really available to just anyone.
So someone is really investing in this.
Right. And then there's that account from a law enforcement officer who saw 50 drones coming in from the ocean towards the mainland.
Wait, 50 drones?
50 drones. That's not just someone playing around with a toy in their backyard.
No, that's a whole fleet.
That many drones moving in a coordinated manner. It points to something way more sophisticated.
Right. It makes you wonder who's behind it all and what their intentions are. I mean, are we dealing with a foreign adversary, a private organization, or is it something else entirely?
Yeah, it's a head scratcher for sure. 50 drones emerging from the ocean. It almost sounds like a scene from a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it does. And what's even more intriguing is that there have been similar sightings over RAF bases in the UK.
So this isn't just some local New Jersey thing.
It seems like this is happening in different parts of the world.
It really makes you wonder, is there a connection? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, and what is the government hiding?
It's all very mysterious.
Yeah.
And the government's silence just adds to the intrigue. It feels like we're being left in the dark.
Totally agree. And the more they deny it, the more suspicious it seems.
Exactly.
It creates this environment of mistrust. You know, when the people in charge aren't transparent, it's natural for people to start speculating and filling in the gaps with their own theories.
For sure. And those theories can get pretty wild, especially when you factor in the whole UAP connection.
Oh, yeah.
We'll dive deeper into that in part 2 of this deep dive. We'll explore some of the more outlandish explanations and what they might tell us about our own anxieties and fascinations with the unknown.
These drone sightings, especially those over RAF bases in the UK, you know, it's a good example of what we were just talking about. Those sightings, they caused significant disruptions over a period of 16 nights.
16 nights.
Yeah.
That's not just a random occurrence. That suggests a sustained effort. It makes you wonder if someone's testing boundaries, seeing how far they can push things before anyone reacts.
It's kind of a chilling thought, but a valid one.
Yeah.
Imagine a scenario where a foreign power or even a non-state actor can infiltrate our airspace with such ease. It exposes a potential vulnerability in our defense systems, and it raises serious questions about our national security.
Right. And the fact that these drones are seemingly operating with impunity, remember, the sheriffs couldn't even trace their origin. It just adds another layer of concern. It's not just about the drones themselves, it's about what their presence implies.
Absolutely. It challenges our understanding of current technology. Begs the question, are we truly aware of the capabilities out there?
The frustration from Congressman Smith and those sheriffs makes a lot more sense now. They're facing this real, tangible issue, but they're getting very inadequate support from the federal government.
It's this lack of a clear and decisive response that contributes to the growing unease. The government's silence, whether it's intentional or not, it just fuels speculation and allows for misinformation to spread.
And this brings us back to the possible connection with UAPs. Are these drone sightings part of a larger phenomenon? Could they be related to the ongoing UAP investigations, either as a distraction or as a way to discredit eyewitness accounts of other unexplained events?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't have definitive answers yet, but let's just look at what we can glean from the available information.
Okay.
Firstly, these sightings, they occur frequently, often near sensitive areas. So this suggests a calculated and deliberate effort.
Okay, so the frequency and the location.
Exactly. Secondly, the drones themselves exhibit capabilities exceeding those of readily available models. The speed, the maneuvers.
Right.
It suggests either a well-funded organization or technology beyond public knowledge.
So we're not talking about your average hobbyist here.
No, definitely not. And thirdly, as we've discussed, the government's response has been largely evasive. This lack of transparency raises serious questions about what they might be withholding.
It's like they're almost afraid of what might happen if they acknowledge the full scope of these events. Imagine the public reaction if they admitted that our airspace might not be as secure as we think, or that there might be technologies out there beyond our understanding.
Yeah, it challenges our sense of security and our understanding of the world. And you have to wonder if those in power are trying to maintain control not just of the narrative, but of the very reality we perceive.
It's a pretty heady concept, but it's one that keeps coming up in these discussions about UAPs and unexplained phenomena. It forces us to confront the possibility that what we perceive as reality might be just a small sliver of a much larger and more complex picture.
It's a humbling realization, to say the least, and it can lead to a lot of uncertainty and questioning. But it can also be incredibly liberating, It opens up the possibility that there's so much more out there to discover and understand.
It reminds us that we're still exploring, still learning, still trying to make sense of the universe and our place in it. And that's what makes this whole drone saga so captivating. It's not just about drones, it's about what they represent, the unknown, the unexplained, the potential for something beyond our current comprehension.
And the sense of wonder. That's what we should hold on to, even amidst the uncertainty and the unanswered questions. It's what drives us to explore, to investigate, to keep searching for truth, even when it seems elusive.
So what can we take away from all of this?
Well, for me, it reinforces the importance of critical thinking. We can't just accept what we're told at face value, especially when it comes to issues like this where there's so much at stake. We have to be willing to ask questions, to challenge assumptions, and to seek out different perspectives.
And that's precisely what we've tried to do in this deep dive. We've explored the evidence, considered various interpretations, and encouraged you, the listener, to draw your own conclusions. Ultimately, the truth is out there waiting to be discovered, but the journey of discovery is just as important as the destination. And that's what we'll continue to do here on the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
We'll keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep bringing you along for the ride. Until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop wondering. It's like we're in this strange in-between zone with these really compelling eyewitness accounts on one side and then the government's persistent denials on the other side.
Yeah.
It feels like we're missing some crucial pieces of a puzzle.
And, as we try to assemble this puzzle, we keep bumping up against this bigger question, like, who do we believe when the information is so contradictory?
Exactly.
Do we side with the authorities who are downplaying the events, or do we trust the people who claim to have seen these drones with their own eyes?
It's a tough call, especially when you consider the historical context, like Project Blue Book.
Oh, right, yeah.
The government spent years dismissing those UFO sightings while they were secretly conducting their own investigations.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if we're seeing a repeat of that kind of secrecy and obfuscation.
Are we seeing a modern-day version of Project Blue Book?
Right.
With drones replacing weather balloons as the explanation for anything unusual in the sky?
Yeah. And if so, what's the motivation? Are they trying to avoid widespread panic, or is there something more to it? It almost feels like they're afraid of what might happen if they acknowledge the full scope of these events. Imagine the public reaction if they admitted that our airspace might not be as secure as we think, or that there might be technologies out there beyond our understanding.
Oh, yeah. Those are some unsettling thoughts for sure.
Yeah.
It challenges our sense of security and our understanding of the world. It makes you wonder, if those in power are trying to maintain control, not just of the narrative, but of the very reality we perceive.
It's a pretty heady concept, but it's one that keeps coming up in these discussions about UAPs and unexplained phenomena. It forces us to confront the possibility that what we perceive as reality might just be a small sliver of a much larger, more complex picture.
It's humbling, to say the least, and it can lead to, a lot of uncertainty and questioning, but it can also be incredibly liberating. It opens up the possibility that there's so much more out there to discover and understand.
It reminds us that we're still exploring, still learning, still trying to make sense of the universe and our place in it. And that's what makes this whole drone saga so captivating. It's not just about drones, it's about what they represent. The unknown, the unexplained, is the potential for something beyond our current comprehension.
And this sense of wonder, this is what we should hold on to, even amidst the uncertainty and the unanswered questions. It's what drives us to explore, to investigate, to keep searching for the truth, even when it seems elusive.
So what can we take away from all of this? Well, for me, it really just reinforces the importance of critical thinking. We can't just accept what we're told at face value. Especially when it comes to issues like this where there's so much at stake.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to ask questions, to challenge assumptions, and to seek out different perspectives.
And that's precisely what we've tried to do in this deep dive. We've explored the evidence, considered various interpretations, and encouraged you, the listener, to draw your own conclusions. Ultimately, the truth is out there waiting to be discovered, but the journey of discovery is just as important as the destination.
Absolutely. And that's what we'll continue to do here on the Deep Dive. We'll keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep bringing you along for the ride. Until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop wondering.